Hey everyone, thanks for joining today. We're going to let everyone get into the room before we go ahead and get started. But today we're going to be talking about Facebook ads, and appreciate you all tuning in to learn a little bit more about how Facebook ads work and really just kind of some of the new things that are coming out. Facebook has been busy, and so we're going to preview some new features that they have and talk about ways that we can leverage what's existing, what's upcoming to create the best performing Facebook ads out there. So thank you for joining us today. And we're going to let everyone get in the room, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And I'm going to get my screen share going so that way it isn't just my face that you all see. And so I'd love to hear in the chat, or can someone just confirm that you all can see my screen. I have a yes and I have a can't see it. So let me look at something. I was trying to do a full screen, and I don't know if Zoom likes that. So I'm gonna cancel my full screen and do I'm gonna do it the old school way. I'll do presenter mode, and then I'll do it that way. Thank you for bearing with me here. It's not like it's like my 50th webinar that I've done, but I tried to do something different, and that's what happens. You get bit. So I'm going to go back to my normal way of doing it. So now hopefully you can all see it, and love a little confirmation in the chat for that. There we go. Perfect. All right. So don't mess with success. I guess that's the first takeaway here. Hopefully you can write that down and take that to the bank. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my big takeaway. So again, thank you all for joining. We're going to be talking about harnessing the power of Facebook advertising, and just a few housekeeping things. I guess you can use the chat. There's a QA function. You have all been on these Zoom webinars at this point, I'm sure, because let's be honest, we've all been on lots of Zoom meetings over the last 18 months. And so I probably don't need to explain how everything works, but yeah, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. I probably won't answer it as we go through, but we have a Q&A section at the end, and I'll do my best to make sure that every question gets answered. And yeah, looking forward to chatting with you all. So as I was prepping for this webinar, today we're talking about Facebook advertising, and it's amazing to see how far Facebook has come, and just the ad industry in general, what we're able to put in ads, what we're able to put in front of prospects. I don't know how many of you have been in the industry long enough to remember. I mean, if you're a Facebook user, you remember them, I guess, is the tiny little ads on the right rail, they called it. And I never use Facebook on a desktop anymore, so I don't know if those ads even exist. I'm sure they still do, but that was the only Facebook ad available, and they were tiny, and they did okay, but they didn't perform the best, but they were really, really cheap. And you could get a click for like a cent, and that was back when Google cost per clicks were like 50 cents. And so the good old days of digital marketing, before everyone realized how powerful Facebook and Google were, and just digital advertising in general, everyone was still investing on TV. And so maybe we can get some people to go back to that, and then we can all enjoy a little better performance, but I don't see that happening. And so for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Andrew Cederland. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Conversion Logics, and I've spent the last 10 years just being totally immersed in the digital world. And like I mentioned, it's been amazing to see the progression from Facebook, where they started, to where they are now with some of the new ad formats that are coming out. And so I'm excited to talk through some of that today. If you're not familiar with us as a company, Conversion Logics, we're a digital media agency and a software company. We think of ourselves as an ad tech organization. And so we do all of the digital media things that you might expect: paid search, paid social, of course, display, geofencing, email. And we also, a couple of years ago, conversions are in our name. And so we said, well, we're driving all this traffic. What should we do to help our clients, get better results from the campaigns that we're doing? And so we built the Conversion Cloud, and it's a lead generation tool and an attribution tool as well. And so it's all about driving traffic to our clients' websites, and then having a good catcher's mitt, so to speak, with different modules of appointment scheduling or offers and promotions to be able to capture the traffic, understand where it's coming from, and have that be a virtuous cycle to hopefully improve results for our clients. So today, we're going to be talking about a few different things. We're going to look at new ad features that are built for engagement. This is a big theme, is engagement. How does Facebook and Instagram, how do they get you to do something versus just kind of scrolling past and passively looking at it at an ad? We're going to talk a little bit about iOS 14, the update so far, and kind of what Facebook is doing. And a lot of these engagement features are actually built out of iOS 14 because Facebook's trying to make sure that they still get as much data as they can. And so they're doing that from inside the platform versus from other websites. So they want you to take more actions that they can see, so that way they can better target and deliver ads. Then we're going to talk about testing your ad creative, some of the different methods to use. There's a new A/B testing tool that came out that's helpful. It's always been a little bit difficult to do true A/B testing on Facebook. They've addressed that, addressed that now. And then finally, we're going to kind of bring it all together and talk about creating top performing, thumb stopping creative, as Facebook refers to it. And hopefully you learn something and are excited about some of the new features coming down the pipeline. So let's dive in. New ad features on Facebook and Instagram. So probably the biggest announcement that's most applicable to everyone is Instagram Reels is a new placement option inside of Instagram. And so for those of you that don't know, Reels is Facebook, I guess Instagram, same company, but it's their TikTok competitor. And so it's built inside of the Facebook app. If you look at the little mock-up on the bottom here, you can see the little play button with the little, I don't know what you call this thing, the clapper. And so it's really kind of a mini feed within the feed. And Reels sometimes get pushed to the main Instagram feed, but it's more audio focused. It's like visually full screen. There's not really a lot of caption space, and so probably the best proxy for these is story ads. And so story ads are also kind of full screen, a little bit of a different format. And so Reels ads are it's kind of like a longer story ad. It can be up to 30 seconds. People can save them, comment on them, like them. So it's kind of a hybrid between a story ad and a standard Instagram feed ad. And so this is a cool new way to just deliver a different type of creative and a new avenue to get in front of users. And kind of Facebook's playbook is basically roll something out, wait till it gets mass adoption, and then monetize it. And so we saw that with stories a couple of years ago when they added stories and kind of stole it from Snapchat. And now they're doing the same thing with Reels, stealing it from TikTok. And so this is we're actively testing these ad placements, and I'm excited to be able to offer that to our clients. The next one is a little bit more applicable to e-commerce, but we wanted to include it, because it's important to understand where the industry is heading, and we can see some of these actions trickle down into other types of campaigns that we would do. And so we have a new ad placement, Instagram Shop. And so this is shoppable pages. You may have seen this show up in your feed already, but there's, you can see on the Explorer page on the right side, there's little tags across the top where you can actually look for things. And then on an ad itself, you can now click something and purchase it right from in the Facebook or Instagram app. And so really the goal of this for Instagram and for Facebook is to, again, understand the user journey better, so that way we can better target ads. And so one of the cool things from this is being able to create new shopping engagement audiences and just engagement audiences in general. And so we'll look at another form of engagement later, but Hollister is obviously a large brand e-commerce company. They're still around after all these years, and they have been targeting these shopper engagement audiences and seeing really great results. And so something that we're looking on the lookout for from Facebook and Instagram is an expansion of what you're able to do in an ad. And maybe you can drive more of a on-site experience, regardless of whether you're an e-commerce company or not, but doing it in an ad format that then, does two things. One, the person doesn't have to leave the app to take an action. And then two, it gives us the ability to target that segmented audience and that action that user took maybe they can apply now for, or take a virtual tour right in the ad or something like that. And then we can target that audience a little bit better. So that's something that we're watching for, but this is something that's actively in Instagram and Facebook, but a little bit more e-commerce focused. Something that's applicable to everybody is a pull feature in stories ads. And so again, this is about trying to get engagement from users. It's one thing to just look and see, hey, here's an ad. Okay, I had an impression. Impressions are great, but an impression with an action, even if it's just a micro action, like I'm choosing donuts or fries. I mean, it seems simple, it seems small, but it helps create that connection between the ad versus I'm just looking at it. I happen to, it passes me by versus, oh yeah, I think these are fries. It's like, it's a silly way to try to get a little bit of engagement from people and not have them just kind of scroll through. And so in early results from some companies, including Dunkin' Donuts, they're seeing a lot higher ad recall, which is totally expected because the person has made a little bit more of a connection with the ad itself, and they're going to have higher recall for it than just blasting out an ad and not having an opportunity to interact. One of the last features we'll look at here is AR features promoted in stories ads. And so again, this one is a little bit more of a large brand. This is something HEB did. They promoted an AR filter where you move your phone around and you see something in AR. So in this, it's it shows a kind of a Christmas big present thing that you can move around your house. And so this is more of a brand lift type play. And so one of the things, again, that we're watching for is how can we integrate AR and VR as that trickles down into campaigns that can be used by all advertisers. This is sort of a brand lift campaign that, if you're a multifamily housing community, you're not necessarily going to run a lift campaign. Your focus is on conversions, but there's going to be opportunities in the future. I believe that these AR features and VR features, you're going to be able to allow people to potentially move their phone around inside of an ad and do a tour, for example. And so this is just an exciting space to watch. As Facebook and Instagram continue to innovate and bring new ad formats to the table. And the last one we'll look at is the playable ad. And again, this is, the theme is that you're trying to do more in Facebook's app, and this is their goal is to get more data. And so you can see here an example for a gaming company. You can actually play the game right in the ad, which is, I'm sure it's technically difficult to do that, but it seems like a very natural evolution for the ad itself. And so again, using a multifamily or senior living, or even, automotive, anything that you're going to do a virtual tour, either around a car or through a building, being able to do that in an ad is pretty powerful. And so this is about Facebook bringing more interaction into the feed. And I think, I know a goal that they have is being able to have the ads be the best part of the Facebook feed. And so, you don't want ads to be a negative experience of, oh yeah, I see all these posts and then, oh, there's this hokey ad. They want to make it as engaging as possible. So you're most likely to click on something and engage with something, even if it's an ad. So that's a little bit about what Facebook has been up to and some of the changes that they're making. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how Facebook is adapting to iOS 14. A lot of that is due to those new engagement, campaigns that they're trying to build out to make sure that they can see more of the purchase journey or more of the, just customer journey inside of their tools, so that way we can target ads against it. And so this might be repeat for some of you, but just to get a little primer on iOS 14 this is the little prompt. If you're an iPhone user, you've seen it over the last few months of, an ad asking to track or not track, or you can allow an ad to track you across websites or not. And so this was a big deal to Facebook. They made a big splash and big push against Apple on this. And, but the death of Facebook has been, or the reports of, the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. The reports of Facebook advertising dying have been greatly exaggerated. There really has not been a huge, we haven't really seen a performance drop off much at all. Kind of the biggest thing is reported conversions, just because Facebook is limited in how many conversions it can report, even if those actions are happening. But you can only optimize for 8 events on the website, whereas before, you could have literally unlimited. And so there's a little bit of a smaller view of what we can measure and how we can measure things. But overall, Facebook still has an immense amount of data, and really kudos to them for adjusting their algorithms and their data modeling to better still provide good results, even with some of the limited tracking activity they might have, depending on if somebody has opted in or opted out. So hopefully you all have done this at this point, but just wanted to throw this out here to make sure that you were up to speed, and hopefully you're working with a great agency who's handling this for you. But in order to succeed with iOS 14, there's a few things that you need to do. Verify your domain with Facebook. Make sure you have your 8 conversions you want to track with your Facebook pixel. And then the other thing is audiences, using custom audiences, building lookalike audiences. And one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that we're converting traffic. And so this is where something like the conversion cloud can come in, where you are driving traffic, you're getting these conversions, and then you're able to build a custom audience against those conversions and find more people that are looking to convert, and similar to the people that have taken that action on your website. And so there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of great ways to target still, even in light of some of the iOS 14 changes. And so, but yeah, it's important to make sure you're verified, and then that you have all your 8 conversions that you want to track set up. And so you can still get the data out for the things that you do want to track. So that's a lot about Facebook's updates and what they're changing. And I think now we can shift gears a little bit and talk about, okay, here's some of the new ad formats. Here's a little bit of an update on iOS 14. Now let's talk about the Facebook ads themselves. And there's a few different ways to go about testing ad creative. And kind of the biggest news here that's a really big positive is that Facebook now has a true A/B testing feature. And so there used to be you would put up 2 ads, and you'd let them go out in the wild, and then Facebook would always, it wasn't a true A/B test, because Facebook would pick one, they would see which one was performing better, and they'd say, well, I want to make sure that I'm making the most amount of money because I'm Facebook, and so I'm going to make sure this one gets blasted out to everybody. And so now you can truly look at if I've seen some people raise your hand, if you can just put your comment in the chat, that would be great. And so let me go back to where I was. So one of the best things about this is being able to actually look at 2 different versions. Say you want to test a video ad versus a static ad, and you can really see the results over time and see which one is going to perform best, and then put your campaign behind that one. And so there's a few restrictions that you need to have an audience big enough. So all advertisers may not be quite the best fit for this, but if you're a little bit of a bigger spender, you have probably plenty of budget to work with to be able to split that into 2 and really get a good test of what's going to perform best. So here are a few different things that we can test, and one is the big one is really what type of image or format. I think kind of there's the single image, there's carousel, there's the video. Those are 3 kind of very different ways to target somebody, and I think doing an image versus video is probably a great way to start and kind of dip your toe into testing. You can always change your headline, your copy, of course, and so you can see, hey, are people resonating? You can highlight a specific amenity or something, and then see what's really resonating with people. Is it an offer? Is it an amenity? And test what works best for your audience. And so once you get through the test creative, and you kind of figure out what creative works best for you, you can actually continue to invest different or test different aspects of that. So you say, okay, great, video's working. Now what type of video do I want to promote? And so you can really go down and A, B, C, D, and potentially go all the way to Z or past that, and really hone in on what your audience is looking for and what's going to resonate most with them. We can also look at different campaign objectives. Maybe you want to do brand lift versus conversions, or you're looking at, you have a reach goal. You're trying to just, get your ad out to as many people as possible. You can really look and see what's driving performance, and what's the best type of campaign I should be running. So last but not least, we want to take a little bit of time and talk about, how to create the top performing Facebook ads. And so kind of the big one, and I think this is, something everyone always knows from the 4 Ps of marketing, but you really want to relate to your audience. It's about the person, it's about who you're reaching to and speaking their language. So this is an example from an auto client, a pre-owned vehicle that you can rely on. That's something that people is, potentially something that, if you're buying a used car, doesn't mean you want an unreliable car. You maybe just don't want to take the depreciation hit as soon as you drive it off the lot. And so being able to, speak to that and address that right away in your creative is a good way to, address the pain point or really overcome an objection before it becomes an objection. The next is designing around audio. And this is if you're looking to do a stories ad or even a reels ad, and video too, is people are interacting in different ways. And so it's important to look and design around audio, both audio on and audio off. And so a really interesting stat, I think, is that 85% of Facebook videos are watched without sound, where 60% of Instagram stories are watched with the sound on. And so it kind of speaks to maybe our behavior as a population. Maybe Facebook is what you scroll when you have, 10 seconds or maybe hopefully not 10 seconds. I don't know. I'm guilty of picking my phone up if I have an empty 10 seconds, but you have a couple minutes, you're waiting for, you're standing in line for something. No one wants to be that person in line where they're like, where's this crazy audio coming from? And so I think that's why we see a lot of sound off ads there, or sound off, videos being watched. Whereas Instagram, especially on stories, stories are most likely to be, more likely to be people that you are friends. They're not going to be, brands or things like that. And so you might want to hear actually what's happening. And so it's more of actively engaged. And so regardless, it's important to make sure that if you are using audio, that, it fits the ad, it adds value. And then you also want to make sure that if you have any sort of, talking, that you have captions. And so having captions is important, both from an accessibility standpoint, but also being able to make sure that people that are watching, happen to be watching with the sound off, understand what's going on in your ad, and that they can really see, get the full experience, and that the impression is not, the impression gets the most amount of value possible when they're watching it. And so I think kind of if you boil it down, you want to probably show before you tell, just because people are going to be looking at different audio experiences. But if you are trying to tell, you want to make sure you use captions because you can't expect that people are going to be able to listen to it. Next is designing for mobile. And so kind of one of the big changes is this transition to this vertical, portrait format. And this is something that, again, Facebook, love them or hate them, they continue to innovate and kind of pull and pick from the best performing campaigns from other platforms. And this is something that Snapchat was doing first, was really saying, hey, the mobile experience is what matters most. And so we're going to fit everything into this portrait experience. And so we've seen Instagram ads, Facebook ads used to be 1228 by or 1200 by 728 or something like that. So they were, almost like a 2-to-1 ratio. And now they're kind of the other way. And so it's been an interesting transition to see really the prioritization of making sure we can fill that mobile screen up with a quality experience. And so, for you all, if you have video, vertical video is important. We want to make sure that we have the opportunity to use all the real estate that we're given. And considering that Facebook is heavy mobile and Instagram is pretty much exclusively mobile, we want to make sure that we're using vertical video where we can. Again, if you're using, I'll go back to, we have 2 apartment community examples right here in front of us, making sure that, hey, my vertical video is what I'm putting out to people for a virtual tour. Obviously, you can use horizontal video as well. You just might get the black bars, which isn't the end of the world, but it's just something to consider as you're getting content, created for your brand. Next is to play with color. It's important that as people scroll fast, they tap through stories fast. And, what we want to do is, again, create thumb stopping creative. And what better way to do it with a big, bright splash of color to make people kind of, say, whoa, what's going on? And if you actually look back at that Dunkin' Donuts example, I mean, that thing was like Technicolor. It was full on 80s neon. And so making sure, again, this all seems straightforward, but it's amazing if you start really looking through Facebook and Instagram as as an advertiser from an advertising standpoint and put your marketing hat on. You'll be shocked at how many ads you see where you're like, wow, they did not put effort into this, and they're just hoping that they can throw something up there, and because it's Facebook, it'll work great. But we want to make sure that every time we put an ad in front of somebody, that's a real prospect that is potentially interested in what you have to sell. And so we always want to do what we can to make our ads resonate and put our best foot forward. And last but not least is creating a high value ad experience. And so going back to what I said earlier, we want to engage people and, potentially entertain them. You can use the word entertain loosely, but we want people to stop and look at our ad. And, if you have a carousel that's scrolling through where you're looking at different, amenities that you're offering, hey, here's our pool, here's our rooftop bar, whatever it is, it's the whole point of this is not just to deliver an ad in front of somebody, is we want to make them take that next step. And whether that next step at that point for them is really just potentially taking in the ad, scrolling through it. Maybe they visit the website, maybe they don't, maybe they just keep on going. But the more we can stop people as they're kind of scrolling through or tapping through their feeds and really make them pause, the better our campaigns will perform, and the better we'll be able to achieve our objectives, whether it's selling a car or filling up a community or what have you. And so it's important to really look at this from that standpoint. And as these new features start to roll out, saying, okay, what can we do to get more engagement on our ads versus, hey, let's throw up an image with an offer and it'll do okay. So I hope that you feel encouraged to really push the boundaries and see what we can do and what you can do as a company. And if you're a client of ours or want to be a client of ours, what we can do to help you, make high quality Facebook ads. So key takeaways. The first one is that Facebook is making the ad experience more engaging. And so again, this is a direct response to iOS 14. Facebook is like, I need more data. What can I do? Okay, I'll make people play with my ads and engage with them, do polls, potentially play a game inside the ad, which is kind of crazy. And so expect more of that. Facebook is, I've tried to avoid using the term, but Facebook is a walled garden. They want to keep you in that garden as much as they can because that's how they win. And so expect to see more of that as time goes on. Number two is, leveraging audiences, custom audiences, lookalike audiences. There's, depending on what's available to you, you can use engagement-based retargeting audiences where, hey, they engage with something specific. For example, my Instagram shop store, and I can retarget them. Excuse me. The next thing is being able to test, prioritize what you want to test in your ad. Do you want to do video? Do you want to, see what kind of offer works best? What amenities speak most to your audience? You want to figure that out and then be able to scale that out so you don't waste time putting a substandard ad out into the world. And then last but not least is use messaging and design best practices, color. If you can put any engaging thing, like a poll or something like that in there, always do that. You really just want to follow the best practices of creating compelling ads and making people stop. And I think as marketers, something that happens, we almost have a blindness the same way consumers can get blindness about ads. We sometimes get blindness about ads too. And we boil it down to, impressions and clicks and even leads. But at the end of the day, every time this ad gets served, it's getting served in front of a real person who is making a real decision on if I'm going to buy a car, or if I'm going to, move a family member into an assisted living facility, or if I'm going to lease an apartment. These are real actions that people are taking, and it's all delivered digitally, but it's important to remember that there's a person on the other side, and that we want to put our best foot forward and do everything we can to make them convert. So that is all we have today. Thank you all for joining. And if we have any questions that come through, I see a couple here that I'll get to in a second. I'm happy to answer them. And kind of the first question is, will we get a recording of this call? And the answer is yes, you should get a recording. Hopefully in the next couple of days, you'll get an email with a link to that. And then we usually host them up on our website too. So if you want to see some of the past webinars we've done, we did a lot of data analysis around kind of COVID and how it affected the rental housing industry last year. And then we've done email and all sorts of different things. And so there's a lot of great content there for you to watch. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll open it up to any more questions if people have any. And while I'm waiting for those, I'll just let people know that yeah, rather than raising your hand, if you could put the question in the chat box, that would be great. So next steps, if you want to learn more, go to Conversion Logics, our blog. We have lots of Facebook advertising strategies of detail about those strategies available to you. And you can also schedule a one-on-one consulting call with somebody on our team who's going to go through and really help walk you through maybe what, if you already are currently running, we can look at your campaign and say, hey, here's what we would do differently. And if you haven't actually dipped your toe into really doing a lot of Facebook or Instagram ads, we can help you put something together on that. All right. So with that, thank you all for joining today. And thank you for taking the time out. I know it's hard to make time for these sometimes. We're all busy and lots of things going on. So truly thank you for joining us. And if you want to learn more, feel free. You can shoot me an email. I think the emails to this webinar come from my email. So I will reply or forward you on to someone who can better serve you than I ever could. We have a great team that runs a lot of these campaigns. And so, yeah, if you want to learn more, feel free to reach out. And otherwise, have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you all back for our next webinar. Thanks, everybody.